Good morning, Americans and humans. This is your favorite alien here in the morning of Sunday, February 13th, 2022. Stand by for commentary. Well, today's commentary is a continuation of yesterday's Ukraine disaster. Except that today's commentary is on mitigation of the Ukraine crisis. There is none. The problem is, we got a leader in the United States government, i.e. President Biden, who doesn't comprehend his opponent. And we got a leader in the Russians, i.e. Putin, who is smart but still as dumb as Putin. How can you be smart and dumb? Well, Putin kind of demonstrates both of them. And the problem, Americans and humans, is this. They said that there's been, quote, diplomacy to try to avert the Ukraine crisis. Really? I haven't seen any diplomacy. I've seen the U.S. send troops to Poland. Oh, yeah. And other Federation states. Yeah. Fun, huh? Well. But have you noticed where he's sending troops to? Poland. Probably Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Yeah. Okay. And weapons and money to Ukraine. Yeah. Well, hey. What does all of these places he's doing all this stuff mean? And you got to understand Putin's position here. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, each one of these states went their separate way. Today, Russia's got what? Belarus, maybe? Uzbekistan? That's friendly. Georgia? Well, not so much. Ukraine? Really? Ukraine? Oh. Yeah, Ukraine. But what is this so-called diplomacy done? Created more hype and more expectations that we got an invasion coming as quickly as the Olympic Games. Yeah. Well, really? If I were in charge of the United States diplomatic effort to eliminate this crisis, or mitigate this crisis, because you can't eliminate it, the cause of this crisis is very easy to see. The U.S. has gotten to Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, or now, the Czech Republic, and the Slovenians, yoo-hoo! Yeah. Don't forget Albania, and Bulgaria, Romania, and those were its buffer states. Remember, there's a little thing called the German invasion of 1941. Yeah. Okay. And the U.S. says, okay, now that these states are not Russian and they went their separate ways, let's put NATO in there. Yoo-hoo! Yeah. Does NATO have anything to do in there? Hell no. The Warsaw Pact didn't work good. And speaking from the American point of view, President Biden and you Americans, you got 50 states. And around 40 of those 50 states have some kind of a military base, right? Yeah, there's 10 states that don't. Have you asked those 10 states, do you want a military base over there in your state? Really? And some states like Texas and California have a whole bunch of federal troops in there. Army, Navy, Marine. And everybody's got, National Guard, but that's usually a state thing governed by the United States, because they can say, okay, you guys, you are military units of this state, which each state is like a republic, like the USSR was. But unlike the USSR, and let me give you some examples here, Americans. The USSR was 8,600,000 square miles, 2.5 times the United States. Okay? Russia today is 6,600,000. So it lost 2 million square miles of territory with the demise of the Soviet Union. Hey, oh, hey. Now, if you were states like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Ukraine, okay, that's equivalent to the United States, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, yeah. And what do those states have in common? Heck, the other states could crush you in nothing flat, even with their National Guards, right? Yeah, Connecticut and Rhode Island. You're in the middle of Massachusetts and New York. Yeah. So both of those states can send their military forces over there and crush you like a bug. Especially Connecticut and Rhode Island. Yoo-hoo! And Delaware? Oh, well, you don't mention Delaware. And that's, whose home state. See what I mean? That's the problem that you don't see from your point of view. And nobody's asked Putin, why do you want the Ukraine? And when you have it, how are you going to keep it? Because it's going to cost you treasure and money, lots of money to do that. Look at the Soviet Union. It cost it big time because they had to sustain bases in each one of these 15 republics. And then when the World War II ended, it got the satellite states, as in Hungary, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Albania, Lithuania, Bulgaria. Oh, yeah, and don't forget Poland. Yeah. It took a lot of money to sustain the Eastern Bloc. Oh, yeah, really. Can the U.S. sustain NATO? Hell no. Is NATO viable today? Hell no. That's what happened to the Soviet Union and what's happening to the United States. Its credibility is down. Its viability is down. Same as what happened to the Soviet Union in 1991. And to this day, Putin, with all his resources in the Soviet and the Russian Confederation, does not have the resources to sustain an occupation of Ukraine, let alone Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, who really don't like the Russians. Yeah. Belarus is a friendly country. And what you going to do with your former satellite states of Slovenia and the Czech Republic, Hungary? The Attila the Hun's descendants there are a pain in the ass, aren't they? Yoo-hoo! In Hungary. Yeah. Oh, and don't forget Poland. Those Polish have been polishing the Russians' boots for, almost a century? Well, 1795 to 1917. And then again from 1945 to 91. Yeah, they've been polishing a lot of Russian boots, haven't they? That's why they're the Polish. Yeah. See what I mean? And I don't think the Polish want to do that anymore. So why don't you ask Putin, what the hell do you want? And then you ask the United States, what the hell do you want NATO and Ukraine and the NATO government? Why do you want Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania in there? I can see Hungary. I can see Poland. Because those were states that the Russians was never part of their territorial consent. Poland, well, maybe because of the 1795 split with Prussia and Russia. Yeah, see what I mean? There's mitigations here that you have to look at. Yoo-hoo! Are you following me, Americans? So you ask Putin, what the hell do you want? You ask Biden, what the hell do you want? Why do you have to have NATO or the Ukrainians in NATO? What do you need the Latvians, the Estonians, and the Lithuanians in NATO? I can see Poland. I can see Hungary. I can see the Czech Republic and Slovenia. Bulgaria. Yeah, I can see that. Albania. Well, yeah, I can see that too in there. I can see those in there. Turkey? Wow. Turkey is like, what's Turkey doing in NATO? Really? The Greeks? Well, yeah. But the Greeks and Turkey have a war that hasn't ended yet. And yet they're NATO allies. That's kind of funny. That's like doing business with China when you got an armistice and Korean War. See what I mean? Is your thinking is stupid on the things you do business with here, Americans, and especially humans. This is what's costing you your road to extinction. It's your way of thinking. So you sit down with Putin, you sit down with Biden, and you say, okay, boys, you're the two dogs on the street here. I'm taking your bone away. And we're going to sit down here and discuss this. What the hell do you want from Ukraine? If you invade it, it's going to cost you treasure and money to sustain the invasion. Look at China and the Tibetan countries. You got problems in your own federation with minorities, same as China's got problems in their own territory with minorities that are not communists. And you got 1.3 billion Chinese, 1.4 or something like that, and not 100% of them are communists. You may have maybe 30, 40% of them are communists. The rest of them are something else. Same with the Russians. You got 144 million in the Russian Federation. How many of those are Russian? Really? Yeah. How about the funny guys from Chechnya? Or the funny guys over there in Siberia? Yo-ho! And all the other Federation members who have their own little way of looking at things. How long are you going to keep troops all over your country, which is 6,600,000 square miles? And how many troops do you have? Do you have the money to sustain this on a long-term basis by also acquiring Ukraine, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania? Yeah, really? So question again, Putin. What do you want from the Ukrainians? Yes, I grant you. No membership in NATO for Ukraine to solve the memberships you got with Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Because those are your backyards. And no memberships in future former United Soviet republics. Georgia or Belarus, or Belarus is a friendly nation to you now. It's always been friendly because it's been Belarusia. So here's what we do. You tell me, what is it that you want about the Ukraine? You don't want any membership in NATO. Okay, we can agree with that. But the Ukrainians are independent now. They're not part of your federation anymore, or the Soviet Union. Neither are Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. You ask the Ukrainians that are pro-Russian, do you want to stay in Ukraine or do you want to come to Russia? You have either or. You can either migrate to Russia and be second-class citizens, stay in the Ukraine, and stop being, I love Russia, I love Russia. Okay? And the Ukrainians are going to treat you bad because you have demonstrated that. That's like saying the United States, oh, I'm from the South and I hate the Yankee. Yeah, and that's still prevalent even today. Okay. You married a Yankee? Yeah, see what I mean? It's the way of thinking here. So if I was doing this, I would say, okay, President Biden and Mr. Putin, here's what we're going to do. With the Ukraine, we're going to create a 5-mile west of the border, wherever you are. There's going to be a territory where the Ukraine's going to give 5 miles up on the left side, Russia is going to give 5 miles up on the right side, all through the border between the Russians and the Ukraine states. And we're going to call this a neutral zone, as in the Romulan Federation against the Romulan Empire in a Federation neutral zone. And this neutral zone will last for 25 years. No militaries allowed in the territory, so that's 10 miles. This is neutral area for both the United States and Ukraine on one side and Russia on the other. In 25 years, the Ukrainians will have to do and decide, what do you want to do as a Ukraine state? Do you want to have relations with Russia? Yes. Russia will cease to have claims on the Ukrainian territory. And I know you guys are itching because it belongs to you. Yeah. But times have changed. It's like the Chinese in Taiwan. That little island does not belong to China no more. It's been gone. You got your Hong Kong back, and look at the problems you're having with Hong Kong. Yoo-hoo! And that was a British colony from 1841 to 1997. See what I mean? It's the way of thinking, people. Yoo-hoo! Humans, where is your brains? You're supposed to be an advanced society. Therefore, how come you got watermelons for brains here? Same with Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. You don't need any neutral zones there. Germany relies on your Russian gas and oil. But you know that the Western nations are trying to eliminate themselves from oil by creating self-sustaining energy sources. And they're working on polaric energy, which is dangerous, but hey, it'll sustain themselves. They're working on fusion energy, which will become matter-antimatter energy, which will fuel this planet in decades to come. They haven't got there yet. Heck, we did that in my home planet after it blew itself up and we had to get a adopted planet. We had to fix that planet because it was atrocious. I mean, the atmosphere was terrible. We had to fix it. It took us 1.5 centuries to fix the atmosphere. We lived in space stations. Yeah. But our condition was, this is our home planet. We're going to make it work. And we did. And today it's the head of a federation that's 78 planets strong. This is something that you can work on with the Russians and the Chinese. Is communism going to last? No. Is the Russian Federation going to last? No. Is the United States Federation going to last? No. Is capitalism going to last? Hell no. Capitalism will cease to exist because it doesn't work. Just like communism doesn't work. You have to find another way of governing yourselves, of being human beings, not just nation states. But it's going to take a long decades, maybe 1 century, maybe 2 centuries to get this done. Are you willing to do that, Russia? Do you want to continue as a nation state for as long as you do without having to worry about destroying the world and destroying your society? Really? This is your favorite alien saying, there is a way you can do this, but it takes hard, not negotiations, but talks. There's no such thing as diplomacy here. There's no negotiations. There's consensus. Do you want this? But you definitely need a neutral zone with the Ukrainians and the Russians. You don't need that with the Estonians, Latvians, and Lithuanians because they're almost better off than the Ukrainians are right now, and they can negotiate with the Russians if you have help from the West. Because Russia is going to stay, no matter what you like it. And a nuclear war, World War III, is not good for the Russians, it's not good for the Chinese, and it's definitely not good for the West. This is your favorite alien. Good day.